Ladies, neighbors, and fellow Americans, welcome. We are gathered here on this auspicious day to open the Bank of the United States. I realize that I am no longer the chief executive of this nation, and that you now have President Adams, but I'm sure most of you would rather have me here. The reason that I am here is because, of course, the legislation that created this bank happened during my presidency, and there has been some controversy surrounding this legislation. And so I have returned, along with two of my former cabinet members, to explain to you, the American people, the reasoning behind the opening of this financial institution. The controversy comes from the fact that nowhere in the Constitution does it explicitly name the creation of such a financial institution as one of the enumerated powers granted to the Congress of these United States. However, I think you shall find, when examining the argument, that it was the proper thing to do. And so I would like to introduce my secretary, former Secretary of the Treasury, Colonel Alexander Hamilton. And my former Secretary of State, Mr. Thomas Jefferson. Colonel Hamilton.
A pleasure, Your Excellency. Most commercial nations have found it necessary to institute banks, and they have proved to be the happiest engine that ever were invented for advancing trade. During the Constitutional Convention of 1787, the national bank decision was rejected, but we have a problem within this union: national debt and state debts, and the competition for taxed revenue among these debts. But I have a solution: consolidation of these debts. The national debt is 5 millions after the War for Independence, and the state debts 25 millions. By consolidating these debts, in notion, public finances shall run parallel to the United States' ultimate economic success. And this incites the need for a national bank. Improved financial standing of the federal government, and the national bank becomes a fiscal agent, fostering economic growth by collecting tax revenue to place in our national depository, to begin paying foreign government debts, to acquire loans at better interest rates after defaulting on loans in 1785 and 1787. I am creating the heartbeat of a free enterprise capitalist system where savers of capital and users of capital, they come together with the American banking system to centralize our national credit, thus making it competitive on a global market. While writing my banking report, I had a copy of the Bank of England's charter. I imitated the Bank of England's ability to use public debt, build military might, pay for its wars, and account for that country's prosperity, and have enabled the British to build an empire in turn. Our public debt could deliver much needed capital to the speed, the growth of the U.S. financial system.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jefferson, your rebuttal, sir.
Thank you, Excellency. Colonel Hamilton, your happiest engine is nothing more than a clever artifice to shackle this independent republic to the corrupt stock-jobbing schemes of the old world. You speak of mimicking the commercial banks of Europe, but you forget that it was precisely that British system, with its endless vortex of public debt and imperial decay, that we spilled our nation's blood to escape. You wish to build an artificial aristocracy of paper. I wish to preserve a republic of free, self-governing men. Look to the true bedrock of our liberty, the cultivators of the earth. As I have said before, those who labor in the earth are chosen people of God. The independent yeoman farmer must depend on his own honest labor, never on the whims of gambling banking directors or the fluctuating hazards of the stock market. True national prosperity must grow organically from tangible bounty of the soil, not from the fraudulent manipulation of credit. Furthermore, if your system openly subverts the sacred charter of our union, the Constitution grants no express power to erect a national bank. To stretch the law under the guise of convenience invites total federal tyranny, reducing our written compact to a blank piece of paper. Your system rewards parasitic speculators while mortgaging the liberty of our children to a financial oligarchy. We must anchor this nation in real geographic land and a strict literal adherence to our laws, not surrender our hard-won sovereignty to a centralized banking parlor that feeds the wealthy few at the expense of the absolute many.
Monarchist. Our subscribers to the bank have votes determined on the value of their shareholders, investments, instead of a single vote based on England's banking system. We punish foreign investors by giving no votes to those subscribers outside of our nation. My objective is not to undermine state banks, plantation owners, or yeoman farmers, while favoring financiers and merchants. Public unity is more truly the objective of public banks than private profit. This decision is what's best for this country, and if we have to debate until we are red in the face, I will not yield, sir. You and your agrarian ideals for this society is not a plan, but a fallacy. You dislike my suggestion merely for the fact that it is mine. Contemptible hypocrite. If this decision favors you or Edmund Randolph, we will simply be repeating the economic hardships experienced the previous decade. Huzzah!
Sir, you boast at that as if it were a shield, when in truth, you have constructed a Trojan horse. You have delivered the financial sovereignty of this independent republic directly into the hands of the wealthy, unelected faction of private wealthy elite. To claim that this institution is driven by private stockholders, seeks public unity over private profit, is a delusion of the highest order. The stock jobber only cares for his dividends and the inflation of his paper wealth. He cares nothing more for the distress of the Virginian farmer or the honest tradesman of Philadelphia. By tying the government to this moneyed elite, you do not stabilize our nation. You lease its very soul to a financial aristocracy that will forever hold our laws hostage to their greed. Who can say how long a leased nation may last?
Gentlemen, I have heard the arguments upon both sides, and I promise you that I have weighed them most thoroughly. And I have come to my decision. I see both sides of this argument. On the one hand, as Colonel Hamilton has said, it is important for a nation who wishes to be a player of any type upon the world stage to have control over their own credit. And what many in our public do not realize, it is also necessary to have control over our own debt. Our debt can actually have value to us. Think on it, friends. You move to a new town and you wish to rent a property. Well, you either must have collateral, which we as a nation do not have, or you must have a reputation. How do you receive a reputation in finance? Why, by paying back debts. That is what the Hamilton Bank allows to happen. On the other hand, I also understand Mr. Jefferson's objection. I too am a Virginia farmer. During the years preceding our war for independence, I came to distrust money men, those men who make their profit not from the growing of crops or the selling of manufactured goods, but from interest upon other people's money. I understand where that distrust comes from, having suffered under the mercantile system for so long. On the other hand, I think most of us remember what it was like to operate under the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union when there was no strong centralized government that could handle the finances of this growing nation. Well, I see that as well. And yet the argument that can be made that nowhere in the Constitution does it give Congress the right, the duty to establish a bank such as this. However, Article 1 of the Constitution does create a possibility for this legislation. In a clause that calls upon Congress to pass laws that are necessary and proper for the execution of their enumerated duties. I believe that controlling the finance, the credit, and the debt of this great nation are necessary and proper to this nation's continued thriving and growth. And that is why I ultimately chose to sign the bill that authorized the opening of Colonel Hamilton's bank. Friends, I do hope that you have a greater understanding of the trials and tribulations and have a better understanding of how your government works. Please recall that it is up to you to read and understand our Constitution and to hold your leaders accountable to it. Thank you and good day.
Please welcome Bill Marrazzo, President and Chief Executive Officer of WHYY Inc. and Chairman of the Board of Directors of the Independence Historical Trust.
Good morning. Well, Washington President Jefferson, Colonel Hamilton, it occurs to me all these years later, the more things change, the more they stay the same. So it's terrific to be with you all. How are you all this morning? Great. So I have the particularly special, great pleasure of welcoming you to this very, very special occasion on behalf of all of my colleagues on the board of the Independence Historical Trust. So thank you all for being here on their behalf. Let me invite you for just a moment, maybe even close your eyes and imagine Philadelphia in 1797. This street was alive with the sound of horse-drawn carriages, merchants calling out their wares, and the hum of a young nation trying to find its footing. But in the heart of this bustling, loud, noisy, smelly city stood a building, unlike any other in our country, a symbol of stability, a symbol of vision, and a symbol of our nation's ambition. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the First Bank of the United States. And today, more than 2 centuries later, we gather here this morning not just to reopen the building, but to reopen another chapter in our nation's history. I really want to take a moment to recognize, at least generically, and acknowledge the remarkable work of dozens of historians, preservationists, architects, community leaders, many of you who are supporters of the trust, who made the restoration and the reopening of the First Bank of the United States possible this morning. Your dedication has ensured that this landmark will not only stand as a monument to its past, but will also serve as a living classroom for generations to come. Now, as we just heard, the First Bank was more than just a financial institution. It was a bold experiment, the embodiment of Alexander Hamilton's vision for a strong, united economy. It represented trust in our nation's future, the belief that a young republic could actually manage its own destiny, and the understanding that economic stability was the foundation for our liberty. This building witnessed the birth of American finance. It saw the struggles of a fledgling democracy, the debates that wound up shaping our Constitution, and the first major steps toward creating a national identity and a national union. So in reopening the First Bank of the United States this morning, we are reminded that history is not just a relic to be locked away. It's a guidepost. In an age of rapid change, the lessons of this place, fiscal responsibility, innovation, and unity, are as relevant today as they were several decades before. The space will now welcome visitors from around the world, inviting them to explore the origins of the American banking system, to understand the challenges of what it takes, the hard work to build a nation, and to thoughtfully reflect upon the enduring values that has made our nation as great as it is today. As Philadelphians, we can yet again be proud of our role in preserving this American treasure. And it belongs to every student who walks through these doors, every family who will stand in awe of its architecture, and every citizen who cherishes the story of how a nation's dream can be financed and secured. It's my pleasure to welcome to the podium our fearless, inspirational Executive Director of the Independence Historical Trust, the official philanthropic partner of Independence National Historic Park here in Philadelphia. He has led this nonprofit entity since January of 2015, helping to spearhead revitalization and fundraising efforts for major landmarks, including the first bank of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, someone who can make the impossible seem probable, Tom Caramanico.
I love that line, make the impossible seem probable. Thank you very much, Bill. I have been on the board of the trust for something like 25 years. Before I start though, I want to recognize that tomorrow, there's going to be a special session of Congress here in Philadelphia, which has kept some of our congressmen busy and not able to be here with us. But 3 of our congressmen have sent staff people, and I want to recognize the staff members from Congressman Boyle's office, Congressman Madeline Dean's office, and Congressman Dwight Evans' office. Thank you for being here, and thanks to those congressmen all 3 have been friends of mine for a long time and have been friends of this park too. I was here when the first germ of an idea of raising the money to restore this building was born. Back in 2017, it was a crazy idea that the trust or anybody could raise the kind of money it would take to restore this building. But at the trust, and sometimes other places, I am the master of crazy ideas. So we started. I said repeatedly that in this park we tell the story of the Declaration of Independence, we tell the story of the Constitution, we tell the story of the Revolutionary War. But we have the first bank building. Around the corner we have the second bank building. A couple blocks away we have the Federal Reserve Bank. And across from that we have the US Mint. But we don't tell the story of money in this park. And as you heard this morning how important that bank was, we need to tell that story. And those are the stories that now will be told in this building. I want to thank all of our donors, in particular the federal government, who funded the construction once we had gotten it ready for bidding. I also want to thank the professionals that did the work to get it to that stage. And also, John Milner Architects was the architect that did the work, the restoration work, to get it ready for bid. And the construction company that did the work was the Bedwell Company from Westchester, Pennsylvania. And those people are the ones that actually brought it to fruition. I want to recognize Christine Carter and Mary Donati from John Milner Architects, and I want to recognize Andrew Bedwell, who is here with us today. But more importantly, these projects don't just happen because somebody like me raises the money for them. It takes architects and engineers and designers and specialists, really, carpenters and plumbers, electricians and tile setters, painters and roofers, laborers, helpers, and all kinds of back office people to get this kind of job done. And those are the people that we are grateful for here today. Of course, Park Service personnel were also involved. Park manager Winston Clement was involved in every decision from the first day till the final closeout. We had the support of Superintendent Steve Sims and his predecessor, Cindy McLeod. Early in our fundraising, we had a potential large donor visit, gave him a little bit of a tour, and he asked me a question, an obvious question. He said, is there any state or federal money in this project? Well, at the time there wasn't. I thought, well, that's a pretty good question. So we made it our business to go to the state of Pennsylvania to see if we could get support in the capital, the RCAP program. What's it called? The Redevelopment Capital Assistance Program, controlled by the governor. We went to Governor Tom Wolf, then Governor Tom Wolf, and told him about the project. He thought it was a pretty good idea. And then, to be honest, I hounded the governor for months and months and months. Wherever he went, I went, and reminded him of the first bank and why we needed this money. And eventually, he did give us a $10 million RCAP grant. Governor Wolf is with us here today. It helped us tremendously to convince other donors that it could be a reality. To have $10 million support from the state of Pennsylvania really made a difference. And I beg the patience, I'm grateful for the patience of Governor Wolf, who put up with me for all those years and took his time to be with us here today. Finally, because we got the project ready to go to construction, we were able to qualify for a significant amount of money from the Great American Outdoors Act, the federal program. That was a bill that provided $6 billion that went to Park Service projects at a time, 2021 I think it was, when we thought $6 billion was a lot of money. Many things have changed since 2017 when we started this, but one thing hasn't changed. I'm still crazy, and now I'm looking for the next big project that everybody says we can't do. Thank you all very much.
Tom, you're a good kind of crazy man. Governor, our heartfelt sympathy for having been hounded all that time. Our next speaker was named superintendent of this great park in 2023. Not an insignificant role. This is the most significant historical square mile in the United States of America. Steve Sims is, interestingly, at least to me, a descendant of a Revolutionary War soldier and a former officer in the Army himself. So it's no surprise that our superintendent honors the stories, the places, and the artifacts that form the bedrock of our nation. Steve is super pedigreed. He holds a bachelor's in science degree in civil engineering from the United States Military Academy, Master's of Business Administration from Norwich University, and he has a Master's in Science and Engineering Management from the University of Missouri. I waste your time on all of that to make a point. Steve, don't let this building fall down. Ladies and gentlemen, a great friend to the Independence Historical Trust, Superintendent Steve Sims.
Good morning, and welcome to Independence National Historical Park and the First Bank of the United States. I want to recognize, actually, many partners whose work, commitment, and collaboration made the restoration and reopening of the First Bank possible. First, thank you to our contractor, the Bedwell Company, whose skilled craftsmanship and steady execution throughout this complex rehabilitation. Working in a historic structure like this requires not only technical excellence, but patience, precision, and a deep respect for what this building represents. To our project architect, John Milner Architects, thank you for bringing both design excellence and historic sensitivity to this effort. The result we see today reflects a careful balance of preservation and modernization, ensuring that this landmark remains authentic to its past while fully accessible and meaningful to today's public. To our National Park Service employees across planning, cultural resources, maintenance, interpretation, and project delivery, thank you for your sustained commitment from concept through completion. Your work ensures that this site is not only preserved, but reactivated as a place of learning, reflection, and engagement. And to our partners at the Independence Historical Trust, thank you for your collaboration and expertise throughout this effort. Your support helped ensure that the highest standards of historic stewardship and project execution were achieved, as well as ensure our joint success moving forward. This project, made possible through the Great American Outdoors Act, a landmark investment in the preservation of America's public lands and historic resources. The Great American Outdoors Act allows the National Park Service to address deferred maintenance at scale, ensuring that places like this are not lost to time, but renewed for public use and public understanding. The reopening of the First Bank is a direct expression of that mission, investing in the physical places where the American story is told. We're also grateful to Kevin Lilly, the Acting Assistant Secretary of Fish, Wildlife, and Parks for the Department of Interior. Thank you for your leadership and sustained support throughout this project and in the broader preparations for the 250th anniversary. Your engagement has helped align partners, sustain momentum, and reinforce the importance of investing in places that tell America's story. Finally, I want to recognize Drexel University and the U.S. Department of State for their partnership with the National Park Service in developing and installing temporary exhibits that will activate the space in new and meaningful ways. These exhibits will help ensure that visitors experience not only the physical space of the First Bank, but also the broader historical, civic, and global context it represents. It is a privilege to stand with you today at the reopening of the First Bank, one of the most symbolically important early institutions of the American Republic, and a place where the nation's civic and economic foundations were first tested in real time. This building represents more than historic architecture. It represents a defining question at the birth of the United States. How does a new nation translate ideals into durable systems? How do you build a republic that is both ambitious in vision and stable in practice? The First Bank stands directly at that intersection. It reflects an early and sometimes contested effort to establish financial order, public trust, and institutional capacity in a young democracy still defining itself. It is where abstract debates about governance and economy became concrete, where the idea of a national system was tested against the realities of a growing country. In that sense, the First Bank is not just a site of history, it is a site of experimentation. It reminds us that the American story has always been shaped not only by moments of declaration, but by the quieter work of institution building, the creation of systems designed to hold together a nation still in formation. That theme resonates strongly today as we approach the 250th anniversary of the United States. Semi-quincentennial moments are not only about reflection, they're about understanding the full arc of how this country has evolved. They invite us to consider how early decisions shaped long-term outcomes, and how the institutions built in the nation's infancy continue to influence public life today. The First Bank helps tell that story in a direct and powerful way. It allows visitors to step into a space where foundational questions of governance, economy, and public purpose were actively being negotiated, and to better understand how those early choices continue to echo through our present. At the National Park Service, our mission is to preserve unimpaired the natural and cultural resources entrusted to us for the enjoyment, education, and inspiration of this and future generations. But that mission is most powerful when these places are active, when they are not only preserved, but also interpreted and experienced. This reopening reflects that commitment. It ensures that the First Bank is once again a place where the public can engage directly with the early story of the Republic and consider what it means for us today. We are especially proud of the collaborative work underway here with Drexel University and the U.S. Department of State. Their partnership with the National Park Service in developing and installing temporary exhibits brings new layers of interpretation to this space. These exhibits will help connect visitors not only to the history of the First Bank, but also to the broader civic and global context in which that history unfolded and continues to resonate. As we cut this ribbon today, we are doing more than reopening a building. We are reopening a place of inquiry, a place where Americans can better understand how institutions are built, how public trust is formed, and how the early choices of a nation continued to shape its future. The First Bank stands as a reminder that nations are not only founded, they are built, tested, and refined over time. And it is through places like this that we can better understand that ongoing work. So today is both a celebration and a renewal of stewardship, of partnership, and of the connection between the American people and the places that tell their story. Thank you all for being here, and congratulations to everyone who made this possible.
Thank you, Steve. Don't you love that hat? It has to be earned, for sure. Listen, as I move to introduce our city's Chief Executive Officer, it reminds me to recognize two other elected officials who have been so instrumental in powering up all that is good about our city's historical area. If you would, Senator Nikil Saval, please stand to be recognized. And our Councilman, Mark Squilla. Our current mayor is the 100th such person to hold that office, but the first woman elected to be mayor of the city of Philadelphia. She is at her core a lifelong learner, a teacher, and a civilized civic asset through and through for our community. She was inaugurated, as I think you all know, in 2024. Her administration is built on a theme, One Philly's vision, with a core mission to ensure that Philadelphia is the safest, the cleanest, and the greenest big city in the United States of America, with economic opportunity for everyone. How can you not admire Cherelle Parker? I sure do. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a warm welcome for our mayor, Cherelle Parker.
Let me start by acknowledging that a transformational effort like this is not accomplished by one entity or one person. Bill, I talked a whole lot about this concept on the trail about intergovernmental cooperation and collaboration. This interagency cooperation. It's with that in mind, and I don't know where he's seated. I need us all to acknowledge the stakeholders who made this effort happen. Is our former Governor Tom Wolf, did he make, Governor Wolf, can you just stand for me? Just stand for me, Governor Wolf. Stephen Sims again, Superintendent, please. Jason Evans, Secretary for Management. Congressman Dwight Evans' team. State Senator Nikil Saval, please again, it's important. I'm asking you all to stand together. It's important for me, okay? The council member, and listen, he's relentless. Mark Squilla, I love you. This district loves you. We wouldn't be here without you. Drexel and the U.S. Department of State, Bill Marrazzo and Tom Caramanico, Executive Director of the Independence Historical Trust. I get an opportunity as mayor of the city of Philadelphia to say to each of you that I am grateful that your efforts today will be remembered 250 years from now, when people wonder, how were we able to bring this transformational investment back to life in the city of Philadelphia, this will be forever etched in our city's history. Please give this team a round of applause. Thank you all. Thank you all. There is an African proverb that says that of all our studies, history is best qualified to reward its research. That's why I am so happy to be here today with each of you. Our city, we all know, is the birthplace of American democracy, but it's also, and this is so important now, when you put it in the context of the challenges that we are facing across the nation as it relates to affordability, and Americans, no matter their race, class, socioeconomic status, zip code, religion, sexual orientation, or identity, access to economic opportunity for all. It is a foundational principle of our democracy. And keeping in mind that Philadelphia is the birthplace of so many firsts, right? You know, we get so tough on ourselves sometimes, Bill. I would like to say that we don't remember who we are sometimes. But when we remember our place and station during America's 250th anniversary, I want you to view this as an opportunity for Philadelphia to be at the helm of reopening another living institution where the foundations of our nation's economy were built. This project is also proof to me of what's possible when government and nonprofits and community partners all come together around a shared purpose. It affirms that we are preserving our past while being very intentional about investing in our future. Bill, I need to bring you on the trail with me, because hearing you affirm that economic opportunity for all is the foundation of my administration's platform. I want you to know that offering financial education programming right here inside this historic building will once again affirm that Philadelphia is serving as the model for the nation as it relates to ensuring that economic opportunity for all is available to everyone. And I'll be quite frank, I can't think of a better place to inspire the next generation to learn about savings, investing, entrepreneurship, and building wealth than the first bank of the United States. That's how we connect our history to our future, by turning this historic landmark into a place where young people get a chance to imagine what's possible for the future. In closing, I want to affirm to each of you that I'm getting asked quite often as mayor of the city of Philadelphia, what does it feel like to lead this city, the sixth largest city in the nation, the birthplace of American democracy, the #1 tourist city and attraction in the world right now? That's not the mayor, that's the Wall Street Journal, that's the New York Times, that's Forbes. What does it feel like? I'm asking each of you who are present to please not miss the moment and the opportunity for each of us in our own genuine, authentic way to figure out how we as individuals will use our time, our treasure, and our talent to make America a more perfect union. It's an action word. It's not a noun. We need you all to figure out what we can do as we recommit our values to the democratic principles upon which we all stand. That's important. I now, and this is the part I love the most, by the power invested in me by the home rule charter of the city of Philadelphia, every Everybody is directed to put one finger in the air. Everybody, right now. And I see you in the back walking up the street. Okay, she put 2 ones in the air for me. And now I want you to know that when you see the mayor doing this on television or social media, this is not a nefarious gang sign. I want you to know that this is my symbol to affirm that no matter how challenging it may be, I will never give up trying to ensure that we are one Philly, a united city, and one America, a united nation. So I all want you to repeat after me. Let's whisper it in practice so you get it right. I don't want you to, like, I misspelled Eagles and went viral. I don't want you all to go through that. So let's whisper it. One Philly, a united city, one America, a united nation. Are we ready to go? Okay, all right, put them up high. This is for the gram. If we don't do it for the gram, we didn't do it at all. Let me hear you all say one Philly, a united city, one America, a united nation. No matter our challenges, don't you ever forget that we live in the greatest nation in the world. Together, we will make it a more perfect union. Thank you.
Mayor, we don't know what it feels like to be the mayor at this moment in time, but it sure feels good to be a citizen in your city. Thank you. Look, we are so fortunate to have several representatives from our federal government. I'd like to introduce to you all the Undersecretary for Management in the United States State Department, Jason Evans. He is a career member of the Senior Foreign Service. And it's really important to think about this because he has served in Argentina, the Dominican Republic, Cyprus, Portugal, Afghanistan, Denmark, Hong Kong, Brazil, and Chile. Madam Mayor, he is able to bring all those tourists to the city of Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Evans.
All right, thank you, Bill. Superintendent Sims, Mayor Parker, good morning. It's great to get out of Washington for a little while and come to Philadelphia, where the First and Second Continental Congress met, where the Declaration of Independence was signed, and where the Constitutional Convention was held. Since the inception of the United States, Philadelphia has played a key role in American history. Another institution that was at the founding of our great nation was the United States Department of State, which has its own long tradition of serving the American people. Originally, the Department of Foreign Affairs, it was located at 13th South 6th Street, where today's Liberty Bell Pavilion stands. And around the world, diplomats from Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson to the current Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, have represented America with distinction and demonstrated the values that Americans hold most dear. I'm incredibly honored to serve the American people as a member of the U.S. Foreign Service and to follow in the footsteps of so many great figures in American history. Our diplomatic corps has been involved in every major international discussion since the beginning, and I'm privileged to be part of that long tradition. It's fitting that the State Department should be represented here for the reopening of this splendid building, the First Bank of the United States. Alexander Hamilton and the other visionaries among the founding fathers who established this first bank did so with an eye firmly on the need to establish the good credit of the United States amongst the nations of the world, and help establish the United States as the financial engine of the world that we've become. It's also with great pride that I share with you our Marks of Friendship exhibition featuring heritage artifacts drawn from our nation's embassies and consulates worldwide that show the rich history of American diplomacy. These incredible artifacts show the depth and breadth of the work our overseas missions do and the enduring relationships our diplomats forge. I'd like to recognize our 14 posts around the world that lent items from their cultural heritage collections on display here. Our gratitude goes to our missions in Bern, Brussels, Buenos Aires, Damascus, Durban, Hong Kong, Jakarta, Karachi, Lima, London, Nairobi, Paris, Prague, Warsaw, and to the Tangier American Legation Museum in Morocco. I'm humbled to say that I've served in 2 of those places, Buenos Aires and Hong Kong. One of the items on display within the bank is a stunning antique dragon robe from our Consulate General in Hong Kong, and seeing that brings me fond memories of my time there. Today's State Department has the same core mission as Benjamin Franklin did when he arrived as our first diplomat in Paris in 1776, to protect American citizens and to advocate for American interests around the world. The Marks of Friendship exhibition also demonstrates another mission of the State Department: to protect our shared American legacy and history by stewarding the heritage buildings that tell the story of our nation's diplomatic accomplishments. A number of the buildings that our diplomats work and live in are not only part of our cultural heritage, but that of our host nations as well. I highlight our ambassador's residence in Buenos Aires, known as the Bosch Palace. It is a beautiful historic residence that holds significance both to the United States and to Argentina. I want to give special thanks to our private sector partner, the Fund to Conserve U.S. Diplomatic Treasures Abroad. The fund has done tremendous philanthropic work to preserve our unparalleled patrimony and keep our treasures, like the painting of George Washington of Princeton and the Tangier Legation, whose stories are told inside the First Bank, in the service of American diplomacy for future generations. I want to thank you all for coming today. I hope you enjoy the exhibition. It's a great way to learn about the important work that our diplomats have been doing continuously since 1776 in service to our great nation. Thank you.
So before we cut the ribbon, it's my pleasure to introduce our last speaker, who is the Undersecretary of the United States State Department. I had the pleasure the other day, yeah, there you go. I had the pleasure the other day of Interior, thank you for the correction. I had the pleasure of reading the transcript of Secretary Lilly's recent appearance before Congress. I guess it was part of his confirmation process. And if I may, he spoke glowingly about the need to keep our national parks open, to keep them safe, and keep them, Superintendent, properly staffed for the families and tourists who visit them. Parenthetically, he also made a commitment to zero out all the deferred maintenance projects here at Independence. That part wasn't on the record. So I can tell you, my colleagues and I at the Independence Historical Trust deeply, deeply, Mr. Secretary, appreciate your commitment to work hand in hand and glove with our state, tribal, and local partners, and with the gateway communities whose livelihoods depend on these lands to, frankly, advance both conservation and education and easy access. Ladies and gentlemen, the Undersecretary of the Interior Department, Kevin Lilly.
Thanks, Bill. You know, I wasn't smart enough to work for the State Department, so, but thanks for the prop. This is such an enormously important day. And Bill and I were talking last night, and Mayor, those were amazing remarks. I really appreciate everything you said. You know, Bill and I share some Sicilian ancestry, like him. My grandparents came from Sicily to this country to seek a better opportunity to leave poverty, oppression, crime, to come here. And I'm also a Texan, so don't hold that against me, but I know the Phillies won last night, right? You beat the Braves, which is good stuff. I won't say on the record that I'm an Astros fan because I'm afraid I might not get out of here alive. But, you know, coming from Texas, I reflect upon what the mayor said. Sometimes when you walk around places so amazing and so important like Philadelphia, we tend to take it for granted, just as you said. And so for me, coming from a state that does not have the traditions that you have here, we certainly have a rich history in Texas. I came here last night and I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed with joy. I was overwhelmed with a sense of awe to be in the presence of a place like this that is so important for so many reasons. And I think of it could be nothing other than divine that the Creator decided to put those individuals on this planet at the time that He did, so that this republic could be created. And to think about this building, and I spent much of my career in the financial services industry, and to think of the financial system that we have in this country that was founded here, that's withstood wars, that's withstood depressions, that's withstood recessions, pandemics. Each time when people were saying, there's no way we're going to get through this, yet the American can-do spirit, the mayor expressed. Also, Governor, thank you, sir. We had a very enjoyable conversation about some of these very topics last night. That this building is not just a building, it represents that we still have the greatest financial system in the world. And the world emulates that. And so I am so just personally awestruck to be in the presence of such an amazing historic place. I'd like to thank President Trump and Secretary Burgum and for all of those that made the Great American Outdoors Act possible. And I know it's people that get really confused with legislative action, but what we call GOA was signed by President Trump in the first administration. It was a bipartisan bill. Both Democrats and Republicans agreed on one thing. Of all the departments in the United States, the most admired is the National Park Service. It's not a partisan issue. As I say, the Park Service and the National Park System is the salvation of the American soul. It's healing. But many people think that the Park Service is just 63 big parks, and that's a huge part of what we do. But there are 433 historic sites to include here. Include places where American blood was shed, like Gettysburg and Pearl Harbor, Appomattox Courthouse, the Statue of Liberty, where I will be tonight for the illumination, cemeteries where American patriots and soldiers are buried, as well as our greatest monuments, the Marine Corps Memorial, the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial. All of those places are preserved, protected, and perpetuated by the brave, loyal men and women who wear the green and the gray. So they're all around. So could you please give it up for our National Park Service. And so the Great American Outdoors Act, which we hopefully, and I'm glad that members of Congress, that your representatives are here, because we hope the second version of GOA will be authorized. $2 billion a year, approximately, for 5 years to serve the National Park Service, to do projects like this. Tonight, when I go to the Statue of Liberty, we've spent $110 million of the GOA funds to bring Lady Liberty back to her glory. And so, on behalf of the Department of the Interior, on behalf of the President and on behalf of the people of the National Park Service. I am so grateful, Steve, for your leadership, and I'm so grateful to be in the city of brotherly love. And thank you for allowing a Texan to be part of this great history. Thank you.
Mr. Secretary, postscript and sisterly affection. So, if I had a bucket list, I would put at the top visiting every single one of our national parks. Yeah. So as we move to cut the ribbon on this marvelous edifice, let's remember, as we've heard so often here this morning, that we're not merely preserving stone and mortar. We are preserving ideals, values that form the foundation of our democracy. The First Bank stands again, not as a silent witness to history, but as a vibrant voice, ladies and gentlemen, calling us to learn, to question, debate, and to dream. So we hope that this reopening can inspire all of us to build with the same courage and foresight as those who came before us, as the Secretary suggested. What a remarkable confluence of destiny to be able to be in a city where it all began. And I hope we all can, like them, invest not only in our economy, but in the enduring promise of our democracy, so that every citizen of this country can not only live well, but live happily. So, I do invite our special guest to join me in cutting the ribbon to reopen the First Bank of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, Madam Mayor, look what this community has built for this city. It's an honor. Thank you all for being with us this morning, and congratulations.
We now invite our special guest to cut the ribbon on the First Bank. Please direct your attention to your left.